So maybe you don't want to ride a two-wheel bike, or maybe you know somebody who doesn't need to be on a two-wheel bike and an electric trike would be perfect for them. This is Lectric's brand new XP Trike 2.0. This is the 500 watt version, and I'm going to show you guys all the features that this thing has and how cool this trike actually is. And I have real world experience with this bike actually making a big difference in someone's life. So the XP Trike 2.0 comes in two different motor sizes. This particular motor size is the 500 watt version, and it's pretty cool how this actually works. So you have a rear hub motor sitting back here in the back before you get to the actual axle back here. It's chain driven from the motor on the far side, and then there's a chain that goes and drives your actual crankset. So how this works is essentially this motor drives a chain, which then drives the axle, which then controls the back wheels. What I really like about this bike is that it's extremely flexible when it comes to a brand new rider or an experienced rider. You have what they call a beginner mode and a standard mode. The beginner mode is going to be a little bit slower at accelerating and doesn't quite reach as high at top speeds, whereas standard mode is going to make the motor work just like a standard rear hub motor. They've truly thought of everything on this, knowing that somebody who is going to be riding this may not have bike experience and needs to kind of gradually work up to being able to ride this bike. The nice thing is it's fully balanced because it's a trike and you don't have to worry about it tipping over. And let me tell you, I tried to tip this bike over and I just couldn't do it. Now, someone who could benefit from this bike in my life was my mother-in-law, and I let her use this bike for the past week to get used to it and see how she liked this bike. And she was really nervous about it because she hadn't ridden a bike in such a long time. Well, she got on this, and after a few rides, she was zooming around the neighborhood with no problems whatsoever. In fact, I even got a carrier here to put her little dog in. I've got my dog with me, and we're gonna take my dog on this adventure for this test ride. Let's go ahead and start the test ride out, and I'll show you guys all the different pedal assist levels and how the throttle works on this. So this is the very first trike that I had ever ridden, and one of the questions I had was, how do you actually keep this thing from moving? Is there a kickstand, or how does that work? Well, there's these little levers or switches on each one of the brakes, and whenever you point these levers down and you squeeze the brakes, it makes this ratchet sound and it locks these brakes in place. So now the bike is locked in by both the front and the back brake. And then to undo it, you just simply lift up on the levers and squeeze the brakes and it comes undone. Let's go ahead, let's power this up and take it out and test out the pedal assist levels. So there's several different pedal assist levels on this. And also there is a standard mode and a beginner mode. The beginner mode is not gonna get you up to the higher speeds that this bike can go, and it's also going to be very, very gradual. All these tests are going to be on the standard mode, so just know that the beginner mode is going to be kind of downplayed by 25, maybe 30% of what each mode can actually do. Right now I am in Eco and it goes 4 miles an hour. Then I go up to Tour and you can feel it kick in just a little bit, but it's very subtle. There's not a ton of power to it, because ultimately individuals who are probably going to be riding a trike probably don't need super strong motor to be pushing them really fast. You're not trying to reach insanely high speeds. Now, this is going about 7 miles an hour on Tour. Now, Sport is the next setting, and Sport's going to get you going just a little bit quicker. And we're reaching speeds of around there's 10 miles an hour. And then there's Sport Plus, which gives you just a little bit more oomph. That's gonna get us upwards of 13.7, 14 miles an hour. We're cruising. Ooh, gotta slow her down. That's the one thing about a trike is that it doesn't lean like a regular bike, so that does take a little bit of time to get used to it. So we got upwards of about 14 miles an hour on Sport Plus. And then there is Turbo. Now, Turbo is not going to get you any faster than about 14 miles an hour. And this thing maxes out around 14 miles an hour. I believe the top speed is stated to be 15 miles an hour. And after riding this bike for a while, I don't know why you would ever want it to go faster than that. In a straight line, it feels really, really good. But if you get into a curvy situation, it feels really stable under about 10. 14 miles an hour, you're starting to be a little bit of a daredevil whenever you start taking corners really fast. However, with that said, I have tried it and I can't get this thing to tip or lean or barely even come off of one wheel. So very impressive with the stability on this, because I've heard stories of trikes in the past that are very unstable. This one to me feels very stable. The thing that is a little bit tricky for me is getting used to the fact that the bike doesn't lean like a traditional bike. It just stays upright. And that's because of the three wheels that it's got. We're gonna test kind of the acceleration of this. My little doggo back here, it's the first time she's been in this. Now my mother-in-law's dog has been in it a couple of times, and her dog sticks her head out this hole. My dog's just kind of hunkering back, not really sure what to think just yet. But we're gonna go ahead and give this everything. It gets up to speed pretty quick. Now, take note that it does start to ghost pedal around 10 miles an hour. And that's because this is a single speed setup. There are no gears, so there's none of that complication that you would get from a regular bike setup. It's just a single speed with a set of pedals, a chain tied back to a motor. So you're not gonna have to worry about whoever's getting this bike that they're gonna have to learn how to shift or anything like that. It's a matter of just getting on it, pedaling, or you can use the twist throttle, which I think is probably the way a lot of people who buy one of these, that's probably the way that they're gonna transport themselves. And honestly, around my house and around my property, that's how I've been using this. I did use this for about a week before I let my mother-in-law use it and try it out. And I was actually using it to pull a wagon around my yard to take stuff to a burn pile. And I found this thing to be pretty stinking handy when it came to, just getting tasks done around the property. It's easy to jump on. It powers up quickly. It doesn't make any noise like if you were to use like a lawnmower or some sort of ATV. And it got me from point A to point B on my property really quickly and easily. And I really like how it is stable because it's on three wheels. I don't have to worry about messing with a kickstand or anything like that. And plus I had a basket on the front and I had a basket on the back before the dog carrier was in there. So this thing has so much like a possibility. Even if you are not one who needs to ride one of these, you can ride a regular bike, or you prefer to ride a regular bike. Maybe having one of these around on your property to be able to tote a wagon around, and maybe to haul a trash can up to the front of your property, or just kind of go up to your mailbox. This thing seems to be pretty stinking handy. One thing is I've been really impressed with the 500 watt motor, and it just seems to deliver more than enough power. I'm going to be super curious whenever I compare this to the 750 watt motor, because this thing has a lot of get up and go, and it feels like it's got plenty of torque. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do the speed test. Typically this would be 0 to 20, but we know that this thing doesn't cap out at 20 miles an hour. So we're just going to go to that 14 mile an hour test and see how quickly it gets there. Standard mode in turbo, pedal assist, and here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Start the pedal, and the motor kicks in somewhat quickly on pedaling, and we're getting up there, and that's 14. So that's pretty quick. I mean, this thing has some get up and go. It does not mess around. Now we can go back and we can try this with throttle, and you can see the speed difference of how the throttle reacts versus how the pedal assist reacts. Let's do the throttle test in 3, 2, 1, go. The throttle is really responsive. It's not super jolty and jerky, and that's 14. So the throttle definitely gets there a little bit quicker because there isn't that delay when it comes to the bike having to spool up and figure out that you are actually pedaling. Where with the cadence sensor that's on here, it does take a little bit, a second or so, to actually be able to spin up and say, hey, oh, you're pedaling. Okay, let's go ahead and go. But I'll show you guys the sensor switch test where I switch between pedal assist and throttle. so you guys can experience that here in just a little bit and know exactly how that's going to work whenever you're switching back and forth, because most people are going to be throttling and pedaling on their ride. They're going to switch back and forth, and having it react quickly is definitely nice. Let's stop here and let's take a look at a few of the things that come on this bike. So taking a closer look at this, you do get some nice metal fenders on both the front wheel and both the back wheels. These things go all the way around half of the wheel, so you don't have to worry about any water splashing up or anything like that. And then also you get this nice removable battery. On the 500 watt motor version, this battery is going to be right around a 13 amp hour. That's going to give you plenty of range for most people that are going to be riding this particular style of bike. Now, one thing that's pretty unique on a trike is that this seat has a backrest on it. And at first it was a little bit different to get used to, but now that I've been riding this around for quite a while, it actually is kind of nice. It makes it super comfortable. My particular one came with a suspension seat post, which smooths out the ride quite a bit. And you also do get a nice drivetrain down here. Very, very simplistic. You don't need much for a particular trike like this, but this particular one, nice and simple. And you do get a chain cover down here, so you don't have to worry about your pants getting caught whenever you're going down the road. Now, you may notice that this bike does have a folding mechanism right here. However, I'm not super impressed with it. It does fold, but it's very awkward. The only time that I would say that you would probably need to fold this bike is if you were fitting it in the back of like an SUV. It is nice that the handlebars also fold down, so you can fit it in the back of like most SUVs. Now, this does have a 50 millimeter front suspension, which does help with smoothing out the actual ride whenever you hit those bumps in the road. Interesting enough, the front is a through axle, which is super heavy duty. I wasn't expecting that on a trike, but it does have some nice tires on here. Both the front and the back tires are all matching. They're kind of a city style tire, which makes it a very smooth and quiet ride. Now, my particular bike setup came with these front racks and the back rack. Now, this does come with a headlight on it, but my front rack didn't have the right attachment to attach the headlight right here, and so I don't have that attached right now. But it does have some nice comfortable BMX bars that you can tilt forward or back, all depending on how you need to ride and how you feel comfortable riding. You can raise the handlebars right here, which is really nice. The wrapping on this seems to be done really well, nice and clean. Really hard to get clean wiring on an e-bike because there's just so much of it. But you do have these Star Union brakes, which I had never seen until I reviewed the XP4, and they do work really well. And here are these locks that I was telling you about. So if you tilt it up, it unlocks it. If you push it down, it locks it. So really cool design. Had never seen that before because I had never test rode a trike before. But you do get some ergonomic grips. Your twist throttle has a bell. And then this screen is very, very nice. I'm going to show you guys more about this particular screen. It's the same screen that we saw on the XP4. Then you have a nice control module. And then my mother-in-law installed a side mirror so she could see. These are pretty cool. I'll put a link to these down below. You can kind of tilt them and move them, get it to where you can see behind you while you're going down the road. Super inexpensive and a nice safety feature. Now, they do make all kinds of different accessories, but this is the basket with the dog carrier in it and my dog playing the model. And as you can see down here, you do get a rear tail light that is brake actuated and it has turn signals. And then you also get 2 reflectors on either side. This part down here is what I think is super cool, and this is how I attach a cart. As I loop it right through here, and it holds onto the cart, and I can drag it around my property and take things to my burn pile. The other cool thing is your disc brake is actually right down here on the main drive side right here. So your disc brake isn't on the outside of the wheels like you would typically see. It's actually in between, pretty close to where the motor is. Overall, this entire build is really pretty cool. Like I said, I hadn't ever ridden a trike before, this particular one, but I'm very, very impressed. And what I really like also is that you can get it in all kinds of different colors. So you have up to, I believe, 6 different colors that you can choose from, which is a really rare quantity that you see from any bike manufacturer. Lectric wants to make it to where you can get the color that works best for your personality. Okay, we're gonna do the brake test. Normally I get up to 20 miles an hour to do this, but I can only get it up to 14. So we're gonna get it up to as fast as we can, which should be 14. And then this thing just stops. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, it's got a lot of weight, but it doesn't reach a super high speed. So it has zero problem stopping this. That was the shortest distance that I've stopped on any bike, but we've got advantages. We've got 3 wheels for one, and we can't reach anything above 14 miles an hour. So if you're worried about how easy this thing is to stop, it's super easy. I think the biggest concern that most people will have will be people's grip strength when it comes to using one of these. And the grip strength that you have to stop these brakes is very light. It's a very light pull on these levers, which is really nice because maybe not everybody who's going to be riding this has the strongest grip, and you want to be able to stop still. These things, you'll have no problem. Even with the lightest pull, this thing starts to come to a complete stop. So really impressed with the stopping ability on this bike. So let's go ahead and let's do the sensor switch. I'm gonna slow down here. We're gonna do throttle, and then we're gonna do pedal. So throttle, 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 the pedal. And it does take about a second for it to flip over from throttle to pedal, which is pretty typical of a cadence sensor. But now we're gonna turn around here and we're gonna do the opposite. We're gonna pedal, and then we're going to switch to throttle. It's instant. That's pretty common for most bikes that have cadence sensors and some torque sensors, but yeah, it's seamless. It's seamless going from pedal to throttle. 1 second delay going from throttle to pedal because it has to pick up that you're actually turning the pedals. And to me, that's not that big of a deal when it comes to this particular style of a bike. If you were trying to do a really high-end, super fast, high-powered bike, then I would say that's probably not a deal breaker, but it could be improved. But on this particular bike, I would say it's pretty spot on. You know, I've talked to my mother-in-law and I've talked to my father-in-law about their experiences with this bike. My mother-in-law is the one who's been primarily driving this, and my father-in-law rides his e-bike. But it's given them the opportunity to get out and enjoy something together that they typically wouldn't. Before, my father-in-law would go out and around the neighborhood by himself, but now my mother-in-law can go out with him. They can go on little adventures. They often ride over to our house, which is kind of cool. And then she can now take her dog with her, which she absolutely loves, with this pet carrier. So it's really opened up a opportunity in both of their lives, not just her life, to be able to explore and do something that she normally wouldn't do. She doesn't really want to have to get out and walk far distances, where an e-bike like this, she can do it safely and she can be secure that she's stable and that she has confidence that she can take her dog places around the neighborhood and not have to worry about being stranded somewhere because she gets tired or doesn't want to quite walk that far. With this, she can put in 3-4 miles, where with walking, she may not want to go that far or spend that much time. She can just jump on this, go on her adventure, enjoy some of the outdoor world that she might not typically see outside of a vehicle, and experience life in a different way. And that's what this is all about. Having a bike like this, it's all about getting somebody to experience life in a different way, to add some extra joy to their life. And I love that. I love the fact that she has had so much fun with this, and she's been very excited to be able to take her dog with her. And it's just, this is what bikes are all about for me. Having people be able to experience them that wouldn't typically want to be on a regular bike or on a 2-wheeled e-bike. And that the Lectric XP Trike 2.0, 1.0, whichever one you've got will allow you to do this. And I love that about this bike. Okay, so we are going to be doing a hill climb test on this. and it's my typical hill climb that I do on all my bikes. Now, it's definitely not going to be super fair because this is a heavy bike and it doesn't go quite as fast as my other ones. So if this bike makes it up the hill with pedal assist, I'm going to be super impressed, for one. And two, if it makes it up with throttle, I'm going to be extremely impressed. I'm going to give it some leeway because it doesn't have a super high top speed. Most of my bikes get up to about 20 miles an hour before we even get to the hill. But with this one, we're just going to have to give it a go. Plus, we are talking a single speed here. We don't have any gears to switch from. All right, let's go ahead and let's get everything set up and we'll get up that hill. This test is going to be the pedal assist. We're going to get going with a little bit of throttle. Going to undo the brakes here. A little bit of throttle to get us going. Start pedaling. Now we're just going to get up to speed and we're going to see what this bike can actually do. Again, remember, we don't have any gears. So this bike is probably more designed for real light hills and flat ground, kind of like what you would see in most typical neighborhoods. This is a really big hill that you wouldn't typically probably ride this style of bike on. I do think it has the power to get up the hill. It's just a matter of how quickly. And I'm going to display the times for both pedal assist and throttle at the end of this. That way you guys can see exactly how this performed. And so far it's doing pretty good. We're at 12.6 miles an hour, which is close to the max speed. So I'm not feeling any major resistance when it comes to pedaling up this. Now we're at the 19%. We're at 10 miles an hour, 9 miles an hour. Got a little bit of resistance, 8 miles an hour. Got a car behind me, which is fun. 8 miles an hour, 8.3, we're gaining. 9 miles an hour. This thing's doing it, guys. Very, very impressed with how this thing is pedaling up this hill. And did really, really good. And up here is where we stopped the timer. And this is where we stopped the timer. I think the bike did very good. I don't believe I saw it go below 8 miles an hour. Can it do it via throttle? The answer is absolutely. It can conquer a big hill. It may not be the fastest getting up the hill, but it can do it. And that's what matters. And then I want to remember this because whenever I have the 750 watt version, I want to see how much quicker it can go up that hill. Okay, so that was a lot of detail, a lot of ride information. Let's check out this new menu system and go over some of the settings that are in here so you guys can get a full understanding of how this whole thing works. Okay, let's go ahead and power this up. Once we get the menu on, you'll see that the screen displays really nicely. Let's go over some of the screen information here. You are going to get a battery percentage and a battery bar. I do really like this. It makes it super quick to understand where your battery level's actually at. You're going to get your speed right here, whether you display miles per hour or kilometers. And then this is going to be your ride mode. So right now it's off. We've got Eco, Tour, Sport, Sport Plus, and then Turbo. So you might notice some dots down here. To get to those, you're just going to tap the power button. Whenever you tap the power button, it's going to take you into these screens right here. This one's going to display some more information like miles per hour, average speed, trip time, odometer, and trip distance. The next one's going to have your speed, cadence, motor power, amps, and volts. So those are going to be all of your screens that you're going to be able to see while you go down the road. If you hold the plus and minus button, this will take you into their new menu system. I absolutely love this. This is so much more user-friendly than what it used to be. You've got all nice readable labels here. You can change your screen brightness. You can put this thing into a sleep mode, and here you'll be able to set the number of minutes before it goes to sleep mode. Then you can set your distance units, so that's going to be miles per hour or kilometers. You can change your trip time, so it'll be aware of whether or not you're moving, or it's just going to be time that has actually elapsed. I do like this setting. Most bikes are just time elapsed or elapsed time. Most of them aren't motion aware. I do like the fact that you can actually see your real ride time, not just the overall time. Then you got your tire size. You're not going to really want to change this because this is going to be permanently set on your bike. Here you can change your classifications from either a class 1 or a class 2. Class 1 will not have a throttle. Class 2 will have throttle and pedal assist. Rider mode is something that I really appreciate that they put in here. You've got a standard, which will give the bike the most power. And then you have a beginner mode. This is the mode that I suggest you start out on until you get used to this if you're a little bit nervous about riding a bike. Then you've got another setting which is very interesting. So this is your throttle pedal assist toggle. So the first one is going to be your pedal assist is active and your throttle is inactive. The next one is going to be pedal assist inactive and throttle active. The bottom one is the one that I always like to keep it on, because that way my pedal assist and my throttle is active at the exact same time. But you can set this up however you feel best works for you. The next thing is going to be your throttle output. So your throttle can either go full speed or it can be based off of your pedal assist levels. I personally like to leave it based off of pedal assist levels, so I know how my throttle is going to react whenever I am throttling and when I'm pedaling. It's the exact same whenever you have this setup set here. If you go down to this setting, it'll be full throttle all the time, regardless of what pedal output you have it set to. And then here is an important one. If you have little kids around, you may want to only activate this throttle whenever the bike is moving. Next is going to be a walk mode. This is going to be kind of nice to have. I don't know that you'd be using it much. Hopefully you won't be using it much, but you can set the walk mode speeds here, or you can turn the walk mode off. To activate walk mode while you're off the bike, you can just simply hold down the minus button for about 1 to 2 seconds and it'll activate it and the bike will start moving forward based off of these speeds you have set. It defaults in at 3 miles an hour. Now, light operation, you can literally have it to where you just hit the plus button and hold the plus button and the lights will turn on and off manually. The brake light will work all the time, but if you select this one, the lights flash while you go down the road. Makes you a little bit more visible. Some people like this just so they can stay safe in traffic. The odometer reset is a very interesting one that I disagree with. I don't like the fact that the odometer can be reset. So there you go. That's all of your menu settings and your display settings. So you guys pretty much have seen the performance that the Trike 2.0 offers. And I've got to say, this bike is very unique. And I personally have seen the joy that this bike brings to somebody who is a little bit nervous about riding a traditional bike. And honestly, that is why I love this bike so much. Not only is it super versatile around my property, but it also brought a lot of joy to my mother-in-law to ride this bike. In fact, she's asking me when she can have this thing back to be able to ride around because she absolutely loves it. Having the ability to tote stuff around like this pet carrier here and have a basket up front really does add to the accessibility that this bike is trying to bring. So the 500 watt version comes in right around $1,499 as of recording this. And they are making a 750 watt version that you can get for right around $1,799. So you have 2 different options, multiple color options, lots of accessories that you can get for this. Overall, I would rate this bike a true success, and riding this bike for the first time really does make me understand why Lectric is the #1 trike seller on the market. All right, guys, if you want to pick one up, I'm going to put some links down below. And if you use those links, it does help out this channel at no additional cost to you. And I would greatly appreciate that. And if you found this review useful, I would appreciate if you click that subscribe button, the like button, and if you could, leave me a comment and let me know how an XP trike would work really well in your life, and or how it would fit well in somebody else's life that you personally know. But as always, get out there and ride your e-bike.